So whether you're using Canva or something like design.com or any kind of designer that uses AI technology, just know that some of those websites read the fine print. Some of those websites will not allow you full ownership of the design. If you're someone that wants to get tips and tricks to effectively get your book published, perhaps you're an aspiring author, you're starting from scratch, you're a bit confused, you want to get a surefire path to getting your book done, be sure to subscribe to the Getting the Win show. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe at Getting the Win. If you're listening on podcast, subscribe on Spotify. I'm officially on Spotify, so you can find me on audio. Let's get into the show. Good evening. Happy Wednesday, my winners and goal getters. Welcome to another episode of the Getting the Win show. I'm your host, Melissa T, the procrastination bully. And in today's episode, I'm continuing to walk you through my author framework. In the previous episode, I talked about the book building pillar, which is the content creation portion of the book, the actual writing of the book or the recording of the content, right? So today I'm moving you into the next pillar, which I call polishing and presenting. So after your manuscript is done, you're like, okay, I've done the writing. Now what? So the polishing and presenting pillar is all about getting the book edited and then preparing it for print. If it's a physical book, or if it's an ebook, then covering the design elements of it. That's what the polishing and presenting is about. It's now the designing of your book, designing its interior, designing its cover, and deciding what kind of cover you want, because there are many options. So if you're somebody that wants a paperback, maybe you're satisfied with just that. Or some books, depending on the kind of book you're doing, might require hardcover. So that might be more your desire. You might even want to really be jazzy with it and do hardcover with dust jacket. So being specific about the kind of cover you want is going to dictate who you go to for your services. So I'm going to get into that. I'm going to share those tools in this episode, right? So let's start with the editing part. If you've never watched this series before, I am someone who edits. That is my whole job. When I'm not hosting podcast episodes like this, or hosting free virtual workshops, or doing the retreats or any other live events, I'm editing. I clean people's books up, and I am what's known as a copy editor or a line editor. So I'm that person that is going word by word, line by line, catching every single detail, every single missed word, every single extra punctuation that didn't need to be in there, and adding punctuation where punctuation was needed and was not there. That's my job. So for the editing process, I always offer my services for that because, hey, that's what I do. That's my skill set. Now, the other step in the process after you get your book edited is then its design. So now you're going to get into who should I use for designing my cover? Who should I use for printing my book if my book is print? Who should I go to? Now, you're likely very busy. You've got a lot going on. You have octopus arms all over the place. And you're like, all right, I need to pinch these pennies. Yes, this book is important. Yes, you've given me the steps to finally make my book possible for me to get it out. But these solutions are going to have to be cost effective. I got you. This episode is for you. I've got you. So from personal experience, I used Amazon's KDP for all of my books, all 8 of them. However, you might need something a bit more specialized depending on the kind of cover you want, the kind of distribution you're looking for. Amazon's KDP is not the end all be all for book distribution. It's simply the most obvious because it's Amazon, and Amazon is a global marketplace. And it's certainly the most well-known one here in the United States. However, there are other marketplaces for you to publish your book on. And some of those marketplaces offer printing services. So for instance, if your book that you're working on is a children's book, you can use Amazon KDP if you want to. Quality's there, and the quality's good. If you want higher quality, just note this higher quality will give you a higher price point, is a service like Blurb or Lulu.com. Those are great for print books that are high quality, great pages. So those are an example if you're looking for a hardcover design for a children's book. Okay, like if you want the distribution in hardcover, those are some great options. Okay, but let me give you the options in terms of getting your graphics done. Yes, you've likely heard about Canva already. You're likely fully aware Canva's a great spot to go, especially since they offer pretty good options in the free version. Here's my one caveat with Canva. It's great if you want to bootstrap, if you want to cut out any of the friction so that you beat procrastination and get the book out. I get it. Just know going forward, should you use Canva's designs, know that that is not IP protected. Like you cannot claim that IP as your own. Canva has that in their fine print. So whether you're using Canva or something like design.com or any kind of designer that uses AI technology, just know that some of those websites, read the fine print. Some of those websites will not allow you full ownership of the design. Since they're the ones providing the creative output, they maintain the ownership, so to speak, for the design. So if you're talking quickness to get your book done, get the cover looking really good, sure, Canva can be a start, but I would personally recommend that you go through Fiverr or 99designs.com to get a professional cover designer. And it's cost effective to go through either of those platforms. Fiverr.com, Fiverr with 2 R's, and 99designs.com to get a professional designer. Another option is Upwork. But my recommendation is to hire a professional graphic designer to design your cover. And in the meantime, while you're searching for that, you can do this on your own first, or you can talk to the graphic designer and the graphic designer can do it. But search Amazon and look at the best sellers in your genre to see how their book covers look, just to give yourself an idea and to give your book designer an idea for what you're going for that's genre relevant. Yes, you want your book to be unique and different. You know, you want your cover to look unique and different, but you also want it to be subconsciously recognizable for your target reader. Okay. So there's certain books on self-help that have a certain look. There's certain books on spirituality that have a certain look. So the genre, it's great to study that so you can have an idea of what bestsellers are to know what readers love, because your reader might be included in that number, your target reader. Okay. So that's the design part, the cover design part specifically. For interior design, there are 2 other resources that I can recommend. Upwork and Fiverr are still on that list for interior layout design, because there are some graphic designers that specialize specifically in that. So Upwork or Fiverr, great options. BookBaby is another one. They offer professional interior formatting as well. Just know that it is a bit pricey. However, it is high quality if that's what you're looking for. There are a couple of other options I want to share with you. Readzy Book Editor. That's a web-based, easy to use formatting editor for your manuscript. And if you go to readzy.com, like their entire thing is author-centric. So if you're somebody that needs editing for your book, not just the interior layout, but actual editing services, they offer that as well. Cover design, they offer all the tips and tricks as well. So Readzy is one option for interior layout. Another service is called Bookright. That's Write with a W, Wright, which is a service offered through Blurb. You guys heard me talk about Blurb before for hardcover books, particularly children's books. Blurb is great not only for hardcover children's books, but they're also great if you're a photographer and you want to create a book that is a photo collection. Blurb is a great service for that. They make great photo books. But Blurb offers Bookright, which is their service for beginners to get their interior layout done for their books. And it's a great fit if you're also going to use them to print your book. So getting those two birds with one stone is something you may want to consider. Also want to touch on book distribution. You heard me talk about Amazon KDP. That's one. Okay. There are several others that you'll want to consider as well, including Ingram Spark. Most authors actually do both because it's advantageous. Amazon KDP has their own global marketplace, of course. They have their distribution channels globally. But Ingram Spark will connect your book and make it discoverable for libraries and bookstores, which Amazon is not going to do for you. But Ingram Spark will make your book discoverable because they're a global distribution system. Okay. And they offer specific cover design options or cover types. Remember what I was talking about with hardcover or hardcover with dust jacket? Some people might want spiral bound, things like that. Services like Ingram Spark and Baker and Taylor, that's another printing and distribution company that you'll want to research in your considerations. They offer book cover types as well that can suit your taste based on what your genre is. Okay, so look into both of those. Now, one thing to avoid with all of these different services is you want to check your settings to make sure you're not overlapping and causing redundant distribution. So Ingram Spark will distribute to Amazon. So if you've ever seen a book that somebody's doing through a traditional publisher and it's available for pre-order, they likely did it through Ingram Spark, because with Ingram Spark, you can schedule pre-orders. That's a whole separate video. I'll get into that when we get into the launch pillar a couple weeks from now, okay? But just be mindful of these as options for your book. Amazon KDP, Ingram Spark, Baker and Taylor, and then draft to digital. Draft the number 2 digital, all as one word. Draft to digital is great because it distributes your book digitally. They offer print as well, but draft to digital is ideal because it gets your ebook out to other markets. So Amazon KDP, they're going to prioritize their own platform, right? They're going to prioritize their Kindle. However, if you want your book to be available on the Barnes & Noble Nook, on the Sony e-reader, or any other digital services or digital platforms, Draft to Digital is one of those services that's a great way to get that done. Just again, in those settings, you'll want to turn off Amazon for that. But all of this is the consideration for polishing and presenting your book. Once the manuscript is done, that first step in the process is the editing, cleaning it up and getting it presentable, readable. Okay. So there's the editing. And even within editing, with a traditional house, that editing process has multiple steps in it. There are some that are substantive editors, so they'll move content around in a very general sense to ensure that the content in your book flows correctly. They're not trying to clean it up by detail. That's when the line editor comes in, or the copy editor. They're cleaning it up, like scrubbing it down so it's smooth. And then, because humans are human, things might get missed. The next step would be to proofread. The proofreader is going to pick up everything the editors missed because, hey, things happen. They're human, right? The proofreader is going to red line everything. They're going to mark it up like, you missed this, you missed this, you missed this. It gets passed back to the editors. They clean up that last pass, and then off it goes to print. It goes over to the interior designer so that they can create the interior layout of your book, set the margins, set the page numbers, all of that. They're formatting it so that it looks cohesive to the reader when they get it. And then from there, you move it on to the cover designer. Make sure that the cover design is set up. Once you've worked with the interior layout person, you know what size your book is going to be, what the book's trim size is going to be. Your standard sizes are typically 6x9. 8.5 by 11, sometimes 11.5 by 8. So just getting clear on that, you'll talk with your cover designer on that, or the interior layout designer on that as well. Okay. So you have the interior layout, you have your cover design, then you move it on to printing and distribution. Because when you get to one of these services, whether Amazon, KDP, Draft to Digital, Ingram Spark, whatever, they're going to want the manuscript, which is going to be laid out properly thanks to your interior layout designer. They're going to want the manuscript. They're going to want the cover design. And then from there, they're going to print it based on the kind of cover you selected, whether that's paperback, hardcover with dust jacket. And the dust jacket, if you choose that, that's going to need its own separate design as well. So that if it's spiral bound, there are going to be things to consider regarding the spiral bound design. But I wanted to give you these as a starter kit. Okay. So a quick recap for your editing services. You've got services like WINSday, or you can contact me directly since I do that, since I'm an editor. So be sure to follow me on Instagram first and then DM me, edit, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Or go to my website, melissathomas.co, and contact me from there, okay? So that's the first step, editing. Then your next step would be interior layout design and cover design. So for the cover design, I recommended Upwork, Fiverr.com, Fiverr with 2 R's, and 99 Designs. That's the cover, that's the exterior, right? For the internal layout, the interior design of your book, there is the WINSday book editor. There's Bookright, which is with a W, book, WRIGHT, Bookright, or Upwork or Fiverr, okay, to get your interior layout designer. So that's your edit covered, your interior layout covered, your outside cover covered. Say that 5 times fast. And then for book distribution, you heard me mention Amazon KDP, Ingram Spark, Draft the number 2 Digital, and Baker and Taylor, depending on how you want your books distributed. Okay. There are many other distribution companies out there, particularly if you want to go global with your book. There are some that are region specific. So we can get into that in future videos. But for now, I wanted to leave you with this starter kit. So we have this particular pillar, the polishing and presenting pillar, covered. Hopefully you found this video beneficial. Be sure to subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube at Getting the Win. You can follow me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Threads at Getting the Win Show. And remember, I am now on Spotify, so be sure to follow me at Getting the Win Show on Spotify as well. Now, in the next video, I'm going to be discussing the very next pillar, which is the marketing, advertising, and press. We're going to get into the messaging pillar, okay? The messaging pillar, marketing, advertising, and press. So you'll want to come ready to take notes. And if you want to check out the previous video that I talked about, the previous pillar, which is book building, check out this video right here.